Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of Dodgers Territory. We are live at Camelback Ranch, home, of course, of the Los Angeles Dodgers. I am Alanna Rizzo. That is Clint Pasillas. But more importantly, we are so happy and privileged to be joined by two-time World Series champion as a manager, three-time, if you count being a player, Dave Roberts, who was kind enough to want to have a sit-down with us and kind of go through the mindset of a manager trying to get his team to the postseason. So first of all, how was your day?
Today was a great day. As we sit here in real time, we won a ball game. Yoshinobu pitched today. He got through 5 innings. He was really good today, and guy swung the bats. And so we're one day. Actually, we got 2 more days. One more game till we leave for Tokyo. So it's been a good camp thus far.
All right. I wanted to raise a glass to you, not for anything that happened on March 10th, but because you were a World Series champion. I've not been able to see you.
Cheers.
To me. I've not been able to see you since
That's
you
right.
actually
Cheers.
won it
Thank
and hoisted
you.
that trophy.
Thank you, guys.
And I know that we wanted to talk about a couple of scenarios within the series itself.
Yeah, I thought this would be fun.
Yeah, all right. Let's go to, before we get into the World Series, let's talk about the pivotal game, obviously in 5 in the DS, where you had to win against the Padres before we get into the World Series, and how critical it was for you, Dave, mentally. Not obviously you need to move on, but mentally just to get over that hump.
Well, you know what? It's interesting is that I got asked this question actually by media today, and they said, what do you think the key is for winning the World Series in 25? And I think for me, it really kind of came real true to me, or was very clear, was getting to a long series, getting to the CS. And I say that because obviously that makes sense, but I just think with our ball club, as talented as we are and have been, if you just don't give yourself a chance to get to a 7-game series where the bats can get going, which didn't happen 2 and 3 years ago for our club. But I think if you can get to that 3rd series, then you can start to kind of catch your breath a little bit. And that's why in Game 5 against the Padres, obviously we were down 2-1 in that series. And then we ran out of bullpen game and Game 4 and just kind of exhausted everything to just get to a pivotal Game 5. And, let's just get home. And so with Game 5, you've got Darvish, and it's like, man, and any night you can shut you down. And we sort of just hung in there, pitchers duel, and then I think it was a Will Smith homer late. But I will say, winning the World Series was so joyous and just everything. But winning that Game 5, just get to the long series, get past the Padres, who were really playing great baseball at the time, I think it was equally as invigorating for me.
And I think we kind of saw that shine through in the parade, in every media opportunity you had afterwards. It just, the relief of getting past that and the joy of knowing, I mean, you had these guys' backs and the team rallied around each other. Of course, you had that September kind of meeting to galvanize the troops after you guys learned that Glasnow is not coming back to help you out. And just seeing everybody come together, play for each other, and you haven't had a better group of guys. And I believe you when you say that, because you've had some special teams in 10 seasons. This one was different.
It was, Clint. And I think that, and it's no slight on any of the clubs that we've had, and certainly the 20 club, which I loved, and we won a championship, and I love every club. I really do. But I just think that, you look back at, there's so many different moments last year where the guys certainly had my back. I showed them that I had their back. And even an example just top of mind is, I think it was in that Game 4 series, we pitched Michael Kopech in the 4th inning, I think 3rd or 4th inning, where this guy closed games, and he didn't bat an eye when I asked him to pitch in the 4th inning. And it was what was good for the ball club, where maybe in years past there's a little bit of, not upheaval, but there was just 100% buy-in, and that's just a microcosm of our ball club.
Let's go to the World Series here, because we have you for a limited amount of time, and we definitely want to talk about this. Game 1, let's speak to the scouting report about the New York Yankees. Going into that series, Dave, what are you trying to accomplish?
Well, obviously, going into that series, we're trying to win Game 1. It's certainly, they were the best team all year in the American League. I felt we were the best team all year in the National League. And so something that you knew that hadn't happened since 81, I think it was. And we're all excited. And so I think you're just trying to figure out a way. We had, I think, 4 days off going into that series. So our relievers are ready. Jack Flaherty came on huge for us at the trade deadline, pitched big for us, and we had him going game one. And I think we had Yamamoto lined up for game two and Walker for game three. And we felt giving Jack the home game one, having Yamamoto pitch at home, and then having Walker, who's pitched in a lot of big games, going into Yankee Stadium, we felt good about the matchup. So, game one, it was a tight ball game, and I think it was like one of those things for me as a manager. You're sort of just letting the game play out. I think for me, it's like 2, 3, 4 innings. You start watching the pitch count, appreciating how much longer the pitcher, your starter, can go, and what type of at bats they're having against that starter, and to see, at what point, if it becomes somewhat stressful, do I need to pivot?
Are you thinking, though, with the defense, Clint? Of course, Yankees defense has been a little bit problematic over the course of the series. You're thinking, all right, if it's close,
I'm not going to go Joe Kelly, but
I wasn't even thinking about that.
I just think that I thought I knew we were a very fundamental team.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that we run the bases well, but in the advanced scouting, there were things that there might be some errant throws, just run balls out. There might be a missed cutoff man, so you've got to and right there, obviously, and then so there, it's like you got to keep your head up. They might miss cutoff men and things like that. So that's some stuff that was in our thought process as we prepared. And right there's one out right there. That's a huge play to obviously, and we're down 2-1 at that point in time. And Shohei runs hard, keeps his head up. Ball gets away from Glaber, advances third base, and it sets up a sac fly situation. So a 2-1 ball game in the sixth versus a 2-2 ball game at home is a game changing.
Yeah, that run doesn't happen. You don't get to history with Freddie Freeman. You don't get to Nestor Cortez. We don't need to get into that either. His
we'll
comments.
get to that.
We'll get
sure.
there.
We will. But you don't get to that point where it's Tim Hill. How does Aaron Boone, not to question his decision making there, but it's still to see Nestor come in.
But before that, let's talk about the offense with Shohei. Just being able to do all of the different things that this club wanted to do. I mean, everything, Shohei, Freeman, up and down the lineup. And obviously in game 5, we'll get to the 5th inning. But there's got to be a sense of how different of a feeling is it as a manager, as you mentioned, just waiting for the game to unfold. But the pressure of having to want to take that pivotal game. It's almost like all the even games, right? That's so pivotal.
It really is. It just sets the tone for the series. And I don't know the numbers of what team wins game 1, wins the World Series. I don't know that. But I do know that those guys coming into our place to win game 1, they kind of took control of the series when you got potentially 3 games at home. And especially, obviously, you guys know really well that everything is magnified. But game 1, I thought the crowd was so into it all game for 9 innings or 10 innings. And so that was just a huge game for us. And I do think that if we didn't win game 1, I thought it would go to 7 games.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I just think that they would have just found this confidence. And I do believe that the pressure, for some reason, I know that they felt it. I can't speak to their pressure, but it would have sort of mounted for us just to win again. And I don't know. I just felt that the winning game 1 just kind of, and you saw, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, but Freddie's homer, it was almost like we had won the World Series after,
no doubt,
in game 1.
Yeah, you don't see teams usually go out on the field and celebrate the way that team did, but there's something about all of what we were just talking about a little bit ago, the galvanizing, people playing for each other, how important that moment was, how banged up Freddie was during that postseason, and to be able to put his team, that whole clubhouse, all you guys on his back in that moment, running out there, taking the first pitch fastball, and there, she's gone. It's pretty special to see.
Were you surprised that, and I know that you and Boone are close, minus the USC UCLA stuff.
That's right.
Were you surprised to see Nestor there? I mean, left on left, obviously, with Freddie, but are you surprised it was Nestor and not Tim Hill?
You know what? We were debating because they were both getting loose, and obviously there's a lot of conversations that managers have, and with their coaches, with the front office, and obviously, Nestor was in the pen for a reason. And I don't know, obviously, and I am close with Aaron, but I haven't talked to him about the reason behind it. And I've been in that seat before where you go with essentially your better pitcher who is a starter, but he's not in his particular role. And so you go with that guy versus the guy who's done it, tried and true. And obviously, Tim Hill had a great postseason. But it's one of those things I'm very sensitive because if Tim Hill would have come in and given up a homer to Shohei, which he's a low ball type guy, and Shohei's a low ball hitter, then it could have been argued that you didn't bring in your best pitcher. And so
you're damned if you do, you're damned if you
It
don't.
is. And then as a manager, that's it. And if you look right here, I felt really good about Shohei right there. And then he pops up. And so the interesting thing is that I let out a sigh right there, but this is something that obviously, if we still have first and second base, then I do believe that they would have went to Mookie and pitched to him. But then you've got Freddie on deck with the open base, because right there with Alex throwing the ball from out of play, those two guys advance. So now you have an open base, and I will say this is there's no way I'm going to let Mookie Betts beat me being right-handed versus Nestor Cortez. And I think that just kind of made the decision easy for them, and it obviously just didn't work out.
So let's get to those Nestor Cortez comments. There's one team that got to hoist that trophy, one team that's getting a ring in a couple of weeks. What are your kind of thoughts about what Nestor had to say, the Yankees being the better team?
Because you kind of said if they win game one, it goes to 7. So does he have a point there?
I honestly did not hear all of his comments. I have no problem with feeling that they're the better team, because I'll tell you this is I've lived it where we've lost division series, we've lost CSs to teams that I thought we were better than. But in that particular series, they outdueled us. I still, again, feel that we were the better team and the best team won, but I understand his thoughts.
All right, so now Freddie Freeman sent his ass to Milwaukee. Here we go. We had done enough to win that game, Cortez said. They can talk whatever they want to talk, but we win game 1, which we should have. We lost 2 and 3. We win game 4, and we should have won game 5. Then we go back to L.A. up 3-2. Yes, I mean, he has the point there, but Dave, as you know, it shoulda, coulda, woulda. So people can say it slipped away from us. People can say we made a lot of mistakes, which we did, but at the end of the day, we were the better team. I see it that way, and I'm sure everybody in that clubhouse sees it that way. The reality could have been going back to LA leading 3-2. It didn't happen that way, and they deserve all the credit in the world. They won the World Series. At the moment, they showed they were the better team. So that's a bigger picture of what Nestor. And you want a guy, Dave, thinking like, hey, we were the better team.
Yeah.
But in fact, coulda, shoulda, woulda, a little bit too late.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did play better. We were the best team all year, and the record states that. But absolutely, I want all my guys to feel that they're the best team. But obviously, people don't like crying over
spilled milk.
Spilled milk. There you go. Thanks for that, Alanna.
You got it.
That's right.
I got your back.
So you get a ho-hum great outing from Yamamoto game 2. Dodgers looking for a sweep. Of course, we eventually get to a game 5. You want to talk game 4? You want to talk game 5? What are we doing here?
Gosh, I mean, we can talk game 4, but it's I think game 4 is good in the sense that I think it's good sometimes to look back, where I am a very look forward type person, but I think the looking back gives people context. And I think game 4, I don't like to concede games, and I hate losing games, but the series are set up in a way that you're the best team, the first team to win 4 games. And so right there, it was essentially a bullpen day for us. Ben Kasparius, I think, started that game, and then Huddy was just off, and we got behind the 8 ball, and then I thought Landon Knack, you're trying to appreciate the fact that you're up 3-0, and you got to win one more game. And so right there, I'm trying to do damage control, knowing that we got potentially 3 games in a row without an off day, and so. Landon Knack pitches well, and then right there, we're still behind, and I just didn't feel it was smart to fire our hired guns, our leverage guys. And then at that point in time, Brent Honeywell came in, and God bless him,
God
man.
bless him,
God
right?
bless him, man. And a funny little anecdote.
Game 5 without
that's
him.
right. No, that's true. And God bless him. And even Mark Pryor, I was talking to Mark afterwards, and he told them, and he went out for a visit at some point, and he's just like, hey, take as much time as you want to catch your breath, but you're not coming out of this game.
You're wearing this,
and
son.
you're going to wear this one. And the thing is, though, is that Honey knew he was going to wear it, and he wasn't going to come out of that game. And so he stayed in, took his medicine, allowed us not to use anyone else to then get ready for Game 5. Because I will tell you this, is that if we would use even one more pitcher in Game 4, and then to have that person go back-to-back and potentially not available for Game 5, Game 5 might have been different because we were down to our last pitcher, actually a pitcher we didn't want to expect to use in Game 5.
So how do you balance the fact that you don't like to concede games, which many people, myself included, was like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and I'm a fan. I hear you, and I absolutely
But how do you balance not wanting to concede a game with knowing you have to manage for a 7-game series? As a pitcher, or as a manager, when you're so competitive, you've got to think big picture. And that's sometimes like people, us idiots in the media or the fans or whatever, don't see big picture. How do you balance that as a competitor, but also being responsible to get your team at the very least to Game 7?
It's hard. It's hard because I think that, when you go to Vegas, and it's a bad analogy, I guess, but when you go to Vegas and you're just chasing your loss and you keep chasing, it's just a bad strategy. And there's a time to know when to say when, or as Kenny Rogers says, no one hold them, no one to fold them, right? And I think that certain games, you just have to understand that this is not even an analytical thing, but it's an analytical word. It's the probability to come back and win is very small. And then you got to be willing to risk whatever you're going to risk. And in this case, we're talking about high leverage relievers for a chance that's still small, right? And appreciating the fact that they're going to use their high leverage guys to kind of minimize run scoring. And so I think that at that point in time, 3-0, it was a lot easier. And I think we did it in the Met series and the CS at their place. And Honeywell did it that time really well. And again, that I think was a little bit harder. When you're up 3-0, that was an easier kind of reset, win one of the next 3 potential games. That was easier than the Mets series.
All right, we're going to talk about Game 5 when we come back with World Series champion manager Dave Roberts in just a moment. First, our friends.
We got to hear about Hungry Root.
Well, duh. Are you hungry? Yeah, Hungry Root. The guys at Foul Territory. We'll be right back.
Kratz, do you like spending an hour on grocery shopping?
Nope. Speed up the process, please.
Introducing Hungry Root to the FT fam.
Now we can all be bougie with our own personal shopper to handle the food shopping, including recs based on what you're looking to put in your body.
I stack my Hungry Root box with items like gluten-free, dairy-free blueberry waffles for breakfast, shrimp veggie bowls for lunch, and a little filet mignon with potatoes and broccolini for dinner.
You can also say just, hey, Hungry Root, I eat paleo, or I'm vegetarian, and they load up your cart with personalized recommendations.
And those recs keep evolving as they learn about what you're into. Also, no BS, as in no artificial sweeteners or preservatives in any of Hungry Root's food. You're going to love Hungry Root as much as FT does. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/FT and use code FT. That's hungryroot.com/FT, code FT to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life.
So, Dave, if we're talking Game 5, I'm going to go back to that Game 4, and you already talked about it here in not having your best version of Danny Hudson out there, given what he could, what was left in that arm. And one of the things, I'm sitting there watching both of the games, and I'm sure this is probably a criticism. I'm very interested in exploring the mind further, which you already touched on here, but what makes Game 5 a must-win versus that Game 4 where, again, Huddy didn't have it so much, but you pulled the lever early, I think, to get to Kopech there in the 3rd inning. What was kind of that mindset to get to there?
Yeah, so I think that the difference is because then you start to understand, obviously, game score, inning, and then in Game 5, where we spotted them 5 runs, and Jack just wasn't sharp that night. And Brazier, I felt that we could pitch him that day, even being down 4-0 and still having an opportunity to come back in the game. So you can still use a guy that you trust and keep the game close, right? And so he ends up giving up a homer. So then it's 5-0. So I think my point is, at that point in time, you're trying to think about what guys are you going to use that would be a cost for the potential next day? And so at that point in time, I felt good with Kopech being able to pitch game 5 and game 6. So right there at that point in time, there was no cost. And so once we did that, and we're still down 5-0, then Gratterall comes in. And again, I felt Gratterall was a guy that was a little bit of a tweener in the sense that he's a leverage guy. I felt that he could pitch an inning for us. Actually, in that point in time, I thought Grat could pitch 2 innings.
Yeah.
Because he's typically an efficient pitcher. And I was willing to have him down for game 6, if there was a game 6, to have him ready with 2 off days to pitch multiples for a game 7. So that's kind of my theory, my thought going into that moment when I launched Gratterall. And then Grat got squeezed on a couple calls, I think one being Judge or Stanton, and then he walked a couple guys. He just wasn't sharp.
Yeah.
And then so I think it was the 5th inning where I decided to then, it was bases loaded, 2 outs. And I think this was the biggest moment of the game for me in the sense of we're down 6-5 at the time. Grat giving up a run us on a sac fly. And then but 2 outs, bases loaded. And I've got to make a decision right now is because Grat's already not going to do another inning after that because his pitch count was up. So do I take a chance on him walking a guy? I think it was walking somebody, or if he gives up a base hit, I just felt that it just made our chance of winning that particular game very small. And then we're in a tough spot. So I launched Blake. So right there, I just felt that Blake needed to stop it right there.
And God bless him, he did.
And God bless it, he did. And to get out of that inning, minimize the damage, which he did, and then give our offense a chance because we had come back in that 5th inning to make it a game and still down 6-5. I just felt that our guys gave us every opportunity to fight back. So on the bottom of the 5th inning, that's when we went to Blake. And the plan was for him to do an up down. And then he went up, got a clean 6th, and then or a clean 5th, I'm sorry, a clean 5th. And then at that point in time, it was kind of inning to inning, and we just didn't have a lot more in the arsenal left.
To me, the 5th inning, though, after coming back from behind, obviously, and then that won the World Series to me. That come from behind, even when the Yankees took the lead 6-5. I said, we're winning this. We're winning this.
And our players felt that. And that's another reason, obviously, you talk about the Judge misplay, which is ironically, that was the only error he made all year. But Kike's base running and getting in the line of Volpe, Mookie hitting a cue shot, but giving us a hard 90. And actually, our R&D guy said that was Mookie's fastest time to first base.
I mean, what a time for it, though.
And
let's break down this 5th inning because you have Aaron Judge bobbling the ball, which he never does. You have Kike with the route that he ran.
Kike getting it going and just fighting and
but the route that he runs, and Machado did it to us in the DS, but it's, it can be gamesmanship, whatever. But you think about it, Betts running hard out of the ball. I mean, everything had to go well.
That's the most impressive part, too, is he gets in Aaron Judge's head a little bit there, but to have the wherewithal to get to second base.
But still get to second base right there.
That was impressive.
And that's Kike. And then right there, he bows out and gets in Jazz's throwing lane. And those are little things that we talk about where he could have went straight to the bag, but he bowed out as an infielder. And what he did is get in Jazz's way so he couldn't get over there and field that ball.
And probably knowing Jazz it doesn't come up as a third baseman,
right? No, that's right. Yeah. That's right. There's just a lot of little subtleties and nuances that I'm just really proud as a coach that that's what we do, because even as you said, Clint, you assume Aaron's going to catch the baseball. You would probably, as a base runner, retreat back to first base and then get forced out. But Kike didn't. He kept his head up and extended the inning. And those are little things that you look back and say, hey, yeah, we scored 5 runs, but there's Mookie right there busting his tail. And earlier in the game, I think it was the same play, but Rizzo took it on his own, and that's what I thought Garrett assumed at that point in time, and Freddie being Freddie, and then it sets the stage for Teo with the big double, and you can see the angst right there, and our guys are really starting to feel it.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
the thing too. We didn't even talk about the fact that neither Garrett Cole nor Anthony Rizzo covered first base. I mean, we're talking baseball 101 there, and I'm sure both guys thought the other one was covering. But I mean, you got to take it, especially in the postseason with everything under a microscope. Don't you have to take advantage of those moments?
You absolutely do. You get 27 outs, you play 9 innings, and you just can't give up 90 feet, walks, plays that you don't convert outs, and give teams extra outs. And we showed it all year. If you give our ball club extra outs, then we're going to take advantage, and that's what we did. I mean, we had 27 outs, but I think in this inning right there, we probably got gifted, 4 more outs, and you saw the result.
How are you able to manage calmly when the world around you is losing its collective shit?
It's one thing when you're in my chair, you insulate yourself. I think that there's just not a lot of upside to get more thoughts or noise, as I like to say, in my own decision-making process. I've got great coaches. I've got a great front office. And so I've got great players. And so there's a lot of conversations going on, and that's plenty for me to take on versus obviously I know the magnitude of this series and what it means to Dodger fans and what it means to ownership and our players. I absolutely get that.
We can't talk about the World Series without first getting through those Padres. And obviously there was a lot on that whole narrative last couple of years. Didn't go so well. Things come out well, but game 3, bit of an interesting one. We had the conversation about, why aren't there Dodgers getting out there making a fuss about the Machado play, which it's a legal play, but I know some fans, you go on Twitter, don't go on Twitter, but you go on there, people are like, why is nobody out there, nobody complaining? That was our thought process as well. What's kind of going through your head there, knowing that you are in enemy territory, how loud Petco Park was, and not trying to give them something else to fuel them? Because I think that was another huge, a pivotal part in the story. It's a long story that we're reading. That was one chapter in the story.
You know what? I just think that I just do not believe. I think that fans are emotional. They're fanatical. That's kind of the short term of fans. And so first off, Manny's play was legal. And so I just think that fans feel that there's a correlation to a manager getting upset, and then that equates to that equates to like success on a baseball field. There's no correlation, and I would argue that more emotion is less. It takes away from the calmness and the focus of the players, and so. And also I think that I pick my spots to be emotional. I have a lot of individual discussions, but at the end of the day, Manny made the right play. And so for me to yell or to fire up my team for something he did, then I look like the idiot. And I don't like looking like an idiot.
And then again, Petco Park, all of a sudden they get more involved.
That's right. Right. And I will say this is that even at our place, like you saw that with the Profar stuff in left field, where they use that as a mantra, right? It's us against the world, the Dodger fans, and so they meet out in left field and they're going kumbaya, the arms around each other, and so that's stuff that I see where it's like, okay, but that's what's going to fuel them to kind of combat Dodger Stadium and beat the mighty Dodgers.
And just to cap it off, and Riz, I want you to take over from here, but for me, I think it's as important to hear it from you. Hear something like that. For all of us that watch a game and understand the moment, we can be pissed. We'll be like, what the fuck's going on here? But then
I say that all the time.
But then you go and watch it. I watched that game back last night on YouTube. Shout out YouTube, sponsor us. And I'm like, okay, listen, there's a rhyme and a reason, and it was the right move. You're pretty dang good at your job. But still, like, I
get it. Absolutely.
I can only imagine you in that seat, man.
No, but the thing is, though, that I just feel that it's, we play 162 and then we get into the postseason. And it's like, you got to be you got to remain steadfast and calm. No player, you can ask any player, and any head coach or manager that is riding the wave of emotions like the players do, as they should, and mostly do, but some don't, let alone fans.
Yeah.
And you just, as like, people look to someone as stability. And so consistency, and that's something that I believe, and I know it kind of breaks people's hearts.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
can,
if you
can be
start to
maddy, but I
freak
just
out, then
can't.
everyone else is
Yeah.
going to start freaking
That's right.
out.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's like as a parent, if you start to freak out, your kids are going to freak out.
Yeah.
What was the timeline of giving Walker Buehler the ball
Oh,
in the
gosh.
ninth? I mean, now we heard from Mark Pryor that it was like Connie gets on the bus and he's like, if things go crazy, then I got it.
So
what
I'm
was
on the bus.
How is that? How did that
Oh my
transpire?
gosh, you guys. So I'm literally on the bus with Walker, and he texts Brandon Gomes, our GM, and Andrew. And thank goodness he didn't put me on this thread that, hey, if something gets, and his word was
Wonky. That's what it
then,
was. Yeah, I knew it was some
I'll be
Kentucky-ish.
ready. And then so Gomer texts me and says, hey, or actually showed me the text, and I go, tell Walker no thank you. And so literally I tell Gomer, tell him no thank you. But then so we get into the game, and then as this game plays out, the fifth inning plays out,
and that was
Walker-
wonky.
and that was
Dave.
wonky.
Yeah, it got wonky.
So Walker has his jacket on. He does his Clayton Kershaw Game 5 in D.C. in Nationals Park, and he walks out and he tells Connor McGinnis, I'm going to the pen. Connor relays that to Mark Pryor.
So he did it on his own?
He did it on his own.
Oh, mercy.
What I
And,
loved is him saying, "What would 22 do?" He said it.
That's
in
right.
Mookie's podcast.
No,
and I
but
was
that's
like,
right.
That's sexy right there.
It is. It is. But what would 22 do? And that's exactly what Clayton would have done, has done. And so Walker puts it all out there, and he went out there, and you're in the ninth inning, and I'll tell you this right now is if we don't take the lead in the top of the ninth, I really don't know what I do, because Walker had one inning. And so if we're looking at a tied game
Gives me chills.
and
Ugh.
we pitch him, we really don't have anyone for the 10th.
Yeah.
Because as I found out later, unbeknownst to me, Daniel Hudson essentially was blown out.
Yeah.
So I had him getting loose because I thought he was available, but he couldn't have pitched. So I just don't
Minor
know.
detail, Dave.
Yeah,
aside.
and then you see Walker getting the last out. And so those are things that just thank goodness that we executed a sac fly, scored that go-ahead run to then, again, do the little things to help this big juggernaut, this great team win a World Series.
And a big thing to me about, I mean, Game 5, I think, just tells the full story of that postseason. In there, people might not understand. There's not necessarily a script. There was not a script to go into Walker Buehler. You going out there and feeling the chest, looking at Blake Trinan in the eyes, getting that feel like, I got this.
There's no script to have Blake Trinan throw 45 pitches. Your Game 7 starter to come out on 2 days rest, or, taking Gratterall out against the right. That's the things I just think that, I have a lot of great support with our club, but at the end of the day, I have to be accountable for decisions. And I've got, like I said, I got a great support group, and I've got great players that make plays. And last postseason, it was just, the players just stepped up in a way like I'd never seen before.
What goes through your mind, Skip, when the last out is made? Alex Verdugo at the plate. You got Walker Buehler in there. Somehow this is like serendipitous.
I mean, it's like
you raised your arm.
Verdugo.
You're like, hallelujah.
Yeah, hallelujah. It's Verdugo, Buehler, ex-teammates, Alex, ex-Dodger, wouldn't want to do anything but beat the Dodgers. And there's a cutter right there. And you're just trying to still manage, because the thing is that I don't have anyone behind them. So there's no margin. If Alex ties this game up, I have no other exit strategy.
You're like, Kike, you're up.
I mean.
Well, we know how that one turns out.
And then so the breaking ball right there, and this is something that's telling is Walker did not like his curveball. And it's taken years and years for us to tell him to trust his breaking ball. And the irony is that curveball allowed him to strike out Alex Verdugo in Game 5 of the 2024 World Series. And there's the breaker right there. So, and there's Walker. It's just, Alanna, it's pure
Walker
elation.
effing Buehler.
That's right.
Yeah, that was
self-proclaimed.
It's
just pure elation. It is. I mean, Dodgers, Yankees, to do it at Yankee Stadium. Are you kidding me?
So we heard a lot about the party going on in New York that night. What's Dave Roberts' night look like after winning
Oh
Game
my
5?
gosh. Okay, so Game 5, we win it. There's a lot of stuff going on afterwards. There's pictures. There's obviously the speeches. There was a cigar involved. There was tequila, as Miggy Rose. Obviously, we're drinking tequila. I mean, it was an exhausting situation. I don't think we left that ballpark maybe 3 hours after the last pitch. And so after that, I just went back to the room, and I think I just passed out because we had an early flight the next day. So I kind of held it for the parade.
Not everybody passed out, though. Not everybody
Oh
went
my
home
God.
to
Yeah, I'm
take a
sure
nap.
some guys. Yeah. Hey, you're in the city that never sleeps.
Yep.
That's Vegas.
That's fun.
Oh, that's Vegas. Oh, sorry.
Vegas.
They don't
Sorry.
sleep out there. It's the windy
They don't sleep
apple.
in New York either, Alanna.
So do you well, that's a good point. Actually, I think it is New York. Do you think, did you fall asleep quickly? Do you toss and turn? What's going on in your head after that or the subsequent days?
I fell asleep. I did, because I think one thing I can do is I sleep really well.
Oh, must be nice.
Right. So I think that after all the festivities, I just got back to the hotel with my wife, and my son was there. My daughter was there too, because she flew in from Madrid for the World Series. So I think we just kind of all just gave each other a family hug, and I just crashed.
I remember when we won the World, I played, in 2020 when we won the World Series and we were in the bubble. And the Christmas card from the Roberts that year was you guys hugging each other and then holding up the World Series. Now the asterisk is gone.
Yeah.
You know, and that's so important. Do you dream about the game? Do you dream about the series? Like when you're asleep, do you dream about it? Not just right now.
You know what? I don't. And you know what's funny is that this is the first today, or a couple days ago, as I knew we were going to do this, have this conversation, that was the first time I went back and kind of ran through the postseason and the World Series.
You prepped for us?
I prepped for you
how
guys. That's
cute.
right.
That's so
I
cute.
prepped.
I mean, you prepped for him too.
Well,
Yeah, I prepped. Alana prepped with wine, and I prepped.
So pretty good at
And
that
I was
prep.
ready to talk about things that upset me.
Yeah, so I don't dream. Yeah, exactly. I don't dream about it, but I do. It's interesting is that as a man, or for me, I'll speak for myself, is regular season, I can recall a lot of things over the years, but in postseasons, I just have a hard time recounting certain moments, and I don't go back and dissect, and it's just like whether they ended up well or they didn't end up well. But yeah, there was an asterisk on 2020, which I still to this day think it's BS, because people just seem to forget how hard life was then, and they don't appreciate that translated to our season, which was just as hard, if not harder, where people aren't with their families and they're doing spit tests, and you're in a bubble. Guys, it was hard, but I love the one where people go to me, hey, now we won one. It's good that we finally won one.
You're like, what are you talking
about? And I'm like, I'm the biggest Dodger fan, but we finally won one. I'm like, well, I guess 2020 doesn't count, but that's another podcast. That's another conversation.
That's another sit down.
That's another sit down.
Yeah, then I need the harder stuff for that one.
Do we spin forward and start talking about this new look team?
Yeah, let's do it. We got some time. Let's do it.
Listen, you got yourself a hell of a starting rotation. Maybe too many pitchers. I don't know if there's ever such a thing after you come off of. We'll say it's not quite a debacle when you go out and win a World Series. But what do you think about this staff you got lined up?
Love this staff. Obviously, getting Blake Snell this past winter, that in itself would have been a tremendous offseason.
It's just the beginning.
Yeah, and just even talking to Blake and getting to know Blake, he's wanted to be a Dodger for quite some time, and that's a credit to all of us in the sense that we created an organization that is built to win in perpetuity, essentially, and players want to play for this organization, this ball club, and so getting Blake. And then obviously after Blake, a lot was talked about Roki, and this is a generational type pitcher from Japan, and we kind of put the full court press, and the players got involved, obviously the ownership and front office, and I thought everyone just nailed it as far as presentation, and he committed to us, and I do think, Clint, you just can never have enough pitching, and you got Shohei coming back at some point in time. Tyler Glass now is healthy, which is great. Dustin May is back. Big Red is back, which is great. Tony Gonsolin had a little hiccup with his back lifting weights, but he'll be back. And the thing is that if we learn anything from years past, things happen in baseball that you're always going to need healthy and viable arms. And Bobby Miller, as a guy that started off really well, and he's going to start in the minors, but he's a real talented piece, and then I expect him to help us at some point as well.
And 22 somewhere down the road as well.
And 22. How do I forget 22? So Clayton, as we sit here today, he'll throw his first bullpen tomorrow. And so, we're going to get Clayton back at some point, and his, drive and quest for 3,000 strikeouts.
Mm-hmm. I have a two-part question for you. How important is it to you for Roki Sasaki's success for him to implement a successful third pitch to use as an out pitch? And if the season started today, barring Tony Gonsolin with the weight issue, who's your fifth starter?
Yeah, you know what? I think with the Roki thing, I think his split will always be his out pitch.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that being a major league starter, it's tough to have two pitches.
Mm-hmm.
And so for Roki to have something to go left against a right-hand hitter, I think is really important. So it's just kind of getting him the confidence in that, knowing that it might not be a wipeout pitch, but it's just to kind of keep guys off his fastball, off his split, keep him honest. So I do think it's crucial, but he's had a great spring. He's a very talented young pitcher.
Split's nasty, no?
The split's nasty. It's like on the scouting scale, there's a 20 to 80, and it's an 80 pitch. It really is. As far as the fifth starter, I think it's Dustin, because of, he's pitched well, getting back. Tony with the little hiccup, just not being able to build up. I think Dustin makes a lot of sense.
Shohei Ohtani is a dude who's eventually going to be in the mix, but kind of a little bit of a slowdown right now. What kind of conversations are you guys having, navigating, building him up while he's also your leadoff guy, your DH, the 2024 MVP? What does that build-up look like as a pitcher?
So the main thing is we get his rehab right. It's his second Tommy John. We have complete trust with Shohei. The conversations are always evolving and free-flowing. We just felt that he's the intensity of games, coming off a left shoulder surgery, ramping up the workload with the bat, his prep, to kind of step off the gas a little bit with the progression of the pitching, was smart and prudent.
Yeah.
And so we've always talked about certain players that the main thing for us is to be as well prepared for October. Not to say that, it's a rite of passage that we're going to win the division, get to the postseason, but, with our talent, we should. And we expect
I'll say it. You're going to win the division.
Okay. Those are your words, Clint, not mine. But I still expect
we'll put it in writing.
But so I think that the thing is that with that, just making sure Shohei, whatever we can do. So erring on the side of caution with Shohei and pushing him back a couple weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is, it really doesn't matter. And Shohei's all on board.
You know how I know when things are going really right? When you have a man that is the international face of baseball, when you guys land in Tokyo, which I'm still trying to get on the damn plane, even if it's in cargo, when you guys land in Tokyo, they're literally expecting 1 million people to meet you guys at the airport. But yet you have this, he's sweet and he's a funny guy, and you guys have little pranks in the parking lot. I mean, that's pretty special. When you have a guy that is the face of the game and an MVP perennially, and you have so many superstars on your team, and you can still kind of have that fun time, there's something special with that.
There is. And I just think that we are seeing the best version of Shohei in the sense as a person. Obviously, he was 50-50. He had a huge year. He's the best player on the planet. What we are going into when we get to Tokyo, I don't think anyone can really appreciate. But after last spring, and we got to Seoul, and we moved on from the interpreter, Shohei has become his own man. And I think that's been great for the coaches. It's been great for his teammates, most importantly. And I think the fans are starting to, and the media are really starting to see a normal person, where I think that, him not speak English as a second language and being separated from the media and teammates and all this stuff, that you really didn't get a grasp of who this guy was.
Mhm.
But I really do believe that when his real personality shows out, then his true talent will show out. And so it's fun for me to hear that funny laugh of his and pull pranks on me and me do it to him, and he just takes it like a champion. It's so much fun.
How do you avoid the World Series hangover? How do you get these guys all bought in when the real games start?
Oh, well, I mean, we're already bought in. Everyone understands what we're expecting to do. What we're trying to be great for a long period of time, and 24 is done. So this is it's a different year, different ball club. Some of the same faces, but I think, and I've talked about this before, is you bring in new guys that haven't won a championship. Kirby Yates, Snell, obviously Roki and Conforto. Then you have other guys that are chasing greatness and legacy, and how do you become the greatest of all time? You win a bunch of championships.
At least 5 rings on that hand.
No, that's right. That's right. And Magic Johnson says that this is a championship town. And so, from Mark Walter, our owner, on down, the goal is not to run from having the bullseye on your back. Embrace it, and people can say whatever they want about us, and I don't think anyone cares. And so I think, for me, Clint, there's not, letdown is not even in our vocabulary, and there's just a certain standard. And I think that our fans have seen it every single year, how we play baseball.
That's the difference between the buffalo and a cow. A buffalo runs into the storm. A cow runs out of the storm. Last question for you, Dave, before we let you go. I've known you a long time. It's been a privilege to know you as long as I have in the NL West and as the Dodgers manager. And I feel like you're finally being rewarded, not only for the manager that you are, but for the human being that you are. And I know you always say that every day you talk to every single player on that roster, you find a way to communicate in some form or fashion. You have to be a psychiatrist, you have to be a nurse, you have to be all kinds of things. What are you most proud of as you sit here in this game now, 30 years in? Your birthday's coming up in May. Like, what are you most proud of?
Wow. I never could have imagined myself being here, talking as the Dodgers manager, been in this game big in the professional, side of things since 1994. I think I'm most proud of the longevity. People in any moment in time can be great, lightning in a bottle. You hear that. But I've just, I'm 52 years old right now. I've managed for 10 years. I've played for X amount of years. And I think that I just really appreciate consistency and longevity. And so I think that I've done that. I'm doing that. And so when you can do something like that, you can understand how to handle the highs and manage the lows. And I think that's something that when you manage or can, pass the test of time, that's doing something. And that's something for me, players that played a long time, coaches or managers that have been around for a long time, media been around for a long time. People like that, those are the people that draw myself. I'm drawn to.
And when you talk about longevity in the Los Angeles Dodgers, it's Walter Alston, it's Tommy Lasorda, it's Dave fucking Roberts.
Whoa.
Whoa. Clint.
Those are some big
Drop
words
one
there.
at the end.
Love
a lot
it.
of times. It's all
Love
good.
it.
I love it.
I know it sounds ridiculous, but I'm beyond proud of you. Congratulations on an amazing season, the best managerial tenure of your career. Let's run it back. All right, Dave Roberts, manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers. We appreciate the time, obviously. Dodgers territory, that's it. Exclusive sit down with the man himself, Doc. Remember this date, March 10th. There's a reason why. We'll see you later. Go Dodgers.
Bye.